Welcome back, everyone. So apparently there's going to be a part 4, maybe a 5, because in the last 2 days since I uploaded my previous video, it looks like Nick has answered a lot more questions, and a lot of them are pretty juicy, so I thought, why not? Let's make another video. So these videos are not in chronological order, but these are all the new ones that have been posted since my last video. And we'll start with Harold G. He writes, well, over a week ago, Kevin S. asked relevant questions. And that's what I said. Kevin's questions, I think it was Kevin F. though, but I said that he asked some pretty good questions. And this guy says the current CFO answered one question ineptly and did not answer the 11 other questions. The CFO told Kevin he would answer the other questions soon. Hate R copy and pasted the same questions to get the answer from the CFO. Nothing. I'm reposting them again. So he reposts the same 12 questions. And Mark M. had responded, I thought his original answer to the first question was fine, and the tactics of detractors on this forum keep underscoring his points about toxicity. He then later stated that due to the toxicity, he would answer those questions in private on LinkedIn. A wise move, as any answer here would be twisted to attack himself or the company. You speak of a television cult, a true or false accusation. I'm not in the position to know. My answer to that question is, what is better, a group of people that really want to build and create something as benign as a gaming console, I guess he means console, or a group of people whose main goal is to destroy and tear down that something? Oh, those evil people. One side, if successful, could bring joy and innovation into others' lives, create jobs, inspire people after a bad day of work. The other, well, only achieve destruction. I mean, come on. Are not most conventions made up of fans that borderline occultish mentality? Being mad at people because they are a fan of something to the point of hatred must be truly exhausting. Wow. This Mark M guy, is it really Mark M or is it supposed to be Mike M? I'm not too sure about this one. But what an exaggeration there. You know, maybe it makes it seem like what these guys are doing, trying to milk investors and misleading them is for the greater good, because it might create a council, as he wrote it. But what about people who are unaware of all the past I don't want to use that word again, information that was not publicly answered. We'll go with that word. What about those people who were duped into investing into something that it was not shown to them to be? So, I'm not sure about this Mark M guy. Harold G responded, Clearly your inept attempt to strawman me with the mad at people who are fans when I did not indicate that at all shows you are mentally ill-equipped to have a rational discussion. Enjoy losing your investment. I will henceforth ignore you. Oh man, Harold G is done. I guess he's not done, because it says, Harold G, warning, warning, warning. Investors, remove your investment immediately. Possible investors, do not invest. Regardless what anyone thinks of the horrendous mishandling of money and the colossally inept and downright rude behavior of the previous CEO and current CFO, this campaign is going poorly. Notwithstanding the squandering of millions of dollars and missing 4 ship dates and hundreds of laughable missteps, might be dozens and dozens of laughable missteps, in thuggish cult they have garnered, they are trying a fourth go at crowdfunding. As they have stated, Phil Adams, current CEO, that they need this campaign to raise $5 million, and when it ends on April 30th, to keep it afloat for just the next 6 or 8 months. The campaign is averaging less than $1,000 a day. Generously giving this campaign $1,000 a day would the final tally, would equate into a final tally of 130,000 or dot. Guessing this person was so angry he could not write a coherent sentence. This is barely 3% of what you need, meaning your money will burn. Burn! Nothing will come out of it but a loss for you. Christian M. Squealer P answered first. This guy's comments should be removed. He is part of the hater Reddit and was bragging about this post. This is ridiculousness Intellivision has to put up with. Just ridiculousness.
You fellas have a lot of growing up to do, I'll tell you that. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Can you believe these characters?
Christian M. had said, Squealer P, quick question. What part of the Herald G is not true? Thanks in advance. So, a day ago, a new user, Derinka Y, whatever, says, don't listen to the trolls here. They're no more than Nintendo boys with a Z. So that means she's cool. She's extreme. She has boys. Wait a minute. Someone else I know uses the letter Z at the end of their name. First name is Saggy, something with the M and a Z at the end. Just saying. So it says Nintendo boys just hating on something that is different and are not the intended customer, I assure. The Amicos bring retro and the past back. Something many will enjoy. It will also get my attention as a female gamer. Never seen something so dedicated to family, grandma, and females and kitties. I invested and have no regrets. Thank you. And they're too cool to write YOU because they're so busy they just wrote you. So this lady, if this lady is not aware of the Switch, I assume, because she hasn't seen all the commercials where they have female gamers and grandma and all these other people in mind. I'm also not sure. Once again, attention as a female gamer. How is Moon Patrol, Astro Smash, Dino Blaster, Evil Knievel, all those other games? How are they, targeting the female gamer? I don't see it. So David S. responds 20 hours ago, you invested where? On Republic? Because you haven't invested here and presumably are just hoping that other people will in a last-ditch effort to save your Republic investment. Good luck with that. Christian M. says, no one is arguing that the console isn't family-friendly or isn't enjoyable. The product is fine. Well, I don't know about the product being fine. You know what isn't fine? The Amico Intellivision balance sheet. 1. Tell me one good thing you found after going over that balance sheet. 2. You say that as a female gamer, this gets your attention. What does the Amico bring to a female player that other consoles don't bring? If you or anyone else could answer my 2 questions, you might get other people interested in investing. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Derinka Y. Christian M. 1. Sure they have $ problems. That's why they are here. And she's once again too busy to write R, so she just wrote the letter R. A brand new console isn't cheap to make, and they underestimate it. Doesn't mean it isn't a good product. Like you admit, the product is fine. Just needs some help in getting to market. And they didn't use a punctuation there. 2. And once again, no capital there. 2. Every game on the Amico is granny friendly. Hey, that person said every game on the Amico is granny friendly. So, Rigid Force Rita is super granny friendly. They love that game. Grandmas love Missile Command multiplayer. It's totally granny friendly. Totally. Every single game, unlike other consoles. David S., not chasing old money, just saying that it's a good idea IMO to invest and why I feel this way and will help out again and again as my income allows. Derinka is a diehard there. Christian M. 6 hours ago. We both agree that Amico is a cool product. The concern everyone is having is that they need this campaign to raise $5 million and when it ends on April 30th to keep it afloat for 6 to 8 months. This campaign is averaging less than 1,000 a day. Generously giving this campaign 1,000 a day, if that, this is barely 3% of what they need. Unfortunately, both you and I need to realize that as great as the Amico console is, the mismanagement that came within the company will sink them and all their investors. Regarding female players and granny friendly, you are correct that the games are user friendly, but what you need to understand is that most grandmas in 2022 who play video games also understand how to use a smartphone and tablet. The Amico is not a plug and play. You need to hook it up to the internet and use digital cards to play the games. Well, that's if it's a physical product. If they're smart enough to know how to do that, then they're smart enough to play on games on other consoles and phones. And that is a good point. That's actually a really good point. If they're smart enough to figure out how to go through all the menus, what's stopping them from, buying a Switch, which is ridiculously easy. You just follow, when you turn it on, you just follow some basic menus, And once you have everything set up, you just turn it on and play. It's easy. Even if this came out at the price of 250 USD, is not one of the most females and grannies will spend, being that at that price it's already competing with the Nintendo Switch and other consoles that are very kid friendly. He put that in capitals just so people understood it's very kid friendly. Let's be honest, you and I know this is true, but I get it. You want to play the Amico, and I don't blame you. The only people to blame at the end of the day is the entire Amico team. Let's not pretend that 5 to 10 YouTubers with 500 to 3K followers tanked this company. Oh, I don't even have 500K or 500 followers. Jesus Christ. Am I supposed to say smash that subscribe button? Smash it, press it so I get more subscribers? I don't know. So it seems like Derinka, diehard Amico fan there. Very diehard. Just wants everyone to buy it. It's going to be successful. Grandmas will love playing Dino Blaster because it's so granny friendly. Alistair W, just a small comment. He's complaining about the in the promotional part of the StartEngine. How is an N64 complicated? Or for that matter, any cartridge-based system complicated? You stick the cartridge in and you're off. Most NES games only use 2 buttons. And then he has funny emojis after that, laughing because it's so hilarious. But yes, someone else realized that they probably should have used a more modern system for making complicated, not an NES with 2 buttons. That was such a terrible idea. So Harrison, who had wrote a few questions in my previous videos there, Nick finally got back to him and said, Harrison, given that it looks like if there are more haters on this site than legitimate investors, if you contact me directly and share your LinkedIn profile with me privately, I would be happy to answer your question here in a public forum. It's like, give me all the good stuff and then I'll talk to you. Which is kind of weird because not everyone has a LinkedIn profile. Like I don't, and I have lots of money, and not that I invest in this, but how? Like I wouldn't have one to give it to him. So Harrison had responded, "Hello, Nick. Sorry that I have been unable to respond to your message until now. As I implied in my previous comment, I am no longer interested in investing into this, so I'm no longer looking forward to answer to my previous questions. Thank you for your offer to answer it anyway, and I wish you luck in making this console a reality and capturing your target audience." So Harrison is gone. No more. 4 days ago, Christian said, I just want to thank the entire Amico team. Oh wait, this is the comment that had read previously. There's finally some follow-ups to this. So he had thanked them for the train wreck and saying that it's worth $250, and brought up about how ridiculous, like who would agree to that crazy loan by Sudesh Agarwal. So there was some responses to that, so let's check it out. Nick, hello Christian. Of the 7.2 million listed as long-term debt, then he goes over 5.6 million is invested as is related to the Republic FTS Amico Reg a revenue share agreement. We carry this on the balance sheet to show that it ultimately will need to be paid back out of future revenues, but is not a traditional debt. And then he goes 400,000 along with the 21,902 of accrued interest are convertible notes from investors. The first 1.5 million of our Series A was structured as a convertible note in a very common in the startup world. Upon the close of the round, principal and interest convert to traditional equity. This gives early investors additional priority over standard equity holders as it is considered traditional debt until conversion. This leaves the 1.82,000 or over $1 million, of which was the majority had been loaned by the board, who are also significant equity investors. So let's keep this one in our brain here. Loans have been structured with interest as there are other equity holders outside of the board who did not participate in the loans. Principal payments are prioritized above interest payments. Once the principal is paid off through the board, will consider the appropriateness of any interest payments, which may include no interest payments, with the final decision reported as part of our normal ongoing disclosure filing. Since you bring up Tommy specifically, no interest payments have been made to Tommy for his loans to the company. I thought that it had said that they had paid him back his loans, interest in his loans already. Something doesn't seem right here. If the company should fail, he would lose the principal as well as the accrued interest. As described above, once the principal is paid off, the board will determine what is appropriate as far as interest payments and disclose as required. Also, to further clarify, Tommy did invest as an equity investor, so your statement that he has no financial risk is false. So I'm just going to go back there. Why does Tommy need interest? Like, this is his baby. He's the face of the Intellivision. Why does he need interest? Like, I can understand if he wants to get his loan money returned. So if he loaned a certain amount, he wants that back. But why would someone who wants his baby to succeed and put every single, want every dollar count to making it grow, why would he want interest going back into his pocket? That makes no sense. He says, you also mentioned Mr. Agarwal, who is our largest individual investor and board member. Mr. Agarwal has been a very generous and supportive board member, providing loans to support cash flow and manufacturing, as well as being flexible with terms of support to success of the company and appreciation of his significant equity investment. Of course he's supportive of it, because you're giving him $100 per unit. That's insane. Notice he hasn't addressed that. Like, why the hell would you give $100? Just because a guy gives you a lot of money doesn't mean you should give him a freaking insane royalty. Of the 1.5 million in short-term liabilities, 539,000 are deposits paid as pre-orders for products. 212,000 is a PPP loan that is fully expected to be forgiven. 223,000 is accrued expenses that we are amortizing over time, such as test equipment, tumbler tester, environmental chamber. Well, we're going to get back to this a little bit later, but did they really use all their test equipment? We'll check that in a later comment. This leaves over $500,000 of traditional short-term debt, which is the most all accounts payable and not out of line given the regular expenses incurred for developing a new gaming console along with a large number of games. So he still doesn't address why they would give that horrendous royalty deal to Mr. Agarwal. And Haru responds to this first. He says, Nick, it does not look good for you to mislead your Let me repeat that. Nick, it does not look good for you to mislead your potential investors in this way. 1. You are using 2020 figures here for the debts. Why not use 2021? Your SEC filings show the current debt is far higher than you describe here by several millions of dollars. See pages 40 to 45. So Haru is just calling him out and pointing to the evidence. 2. The justification you give for interest being charged by board members is nonsensical. Since 2 loans from other board members did not have interest, why was it fine for them to do so, but not for yourself and the former CEO? And that's a good point. Like, why do those guys who are already pulling a salary charging interest on their loans? It just seems so scummy. Number 3, you skirt around the fact that loans from yourself, the former CEO, and others charge mammoth interest rates in the first months, up to 2.5% per month, which is insane, and now attract 10% per annum, far higher than the current commercial loan rates. For comparison, your convertible notes are only at 5%. Why accrue such egregious amounts for your own company? And that's exactly, like, this makes Nick and Tommy look like scammers. Like, I don't care that they don't like hearing the scam word, but it's greasy, as I said before. Like, that's just, if you actually gave a crap about the company that you're working for and they have all this promise and you're in desperate need of money, why would you charge your own company such massive amounts of interest? 4, you ignore the fact that you have actually made repayments on some loans, including to yourself and your former CEO. Yeah, that's why I said. This was done after you had failed to meet your launch date and seemingly after your first crowdfunded investments were secured, even though you had not shipped a product or generated revenue. Why did you make repayments at that time? That's a good point. So they paid themselves with other investors' monies. Like, ugh. In addition to a profit-destroying $100 cut from each of the first 6,750 consoles shipped, Mr. Agarwal's loan attracted a $202,000 loan fee on top of the principal, of which at least $67,500 has been paid. This was listed as manufacturing loan in August 2021, yet no manufacturing has since occurred. Was this really a sensible loan to take with such a staggering terms and still fail to manufacture the product? 6. You state if the company should fail, he would lose the principal as well as all accrued interest. This is simply not true. Should the company be liquidated, loan holders may participate in proceeds from the sale of company assets before equity holders, potential investors in this campaign, do. Oh, Haru just totally slammed it in Nick's face. This needs to be highlighted. This post here, like, that's well said, Haru. So Christian had responded to Nick's original comment. Hello, Nick. Thank you for taking the time to reply. I greatly appreciate it. Quick question: is this true what Haru T mentioned? Is it true they're using 2020 figures here for the debts and not the 2021 figures? Also, Haru brings up a good point that I hope you can answer and share some light on this. Why did the company make repayments loans on yourself and your former CEO after you failed to meet your launch date and seemingly after your first crowdfunded investment funds were secured. Why make repayments at that time? Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks. And Haru had said, I welcome any corrections from Nick. This is from my own readings of the offering document plus common sense. All potential investors should do their own readings to verify these items. I can provide page references for each item if required. If I have something wrong, I will apologize, but I would need page references to the contrary evidence please to verify. And yeah, of course, he pointed out to the facts, and it shows that Nick was not telling the full truth there, and a lot of questionable business decisions were made, especially from a company that was, bleeding money, hadn't launched anything yet. It looked like they were trying to pay themselves before the company went under. So that's what that's what it looks like. Otherwise, they wouldn't be charging interest and taking repayments and loans until after the product had launched. Okay, so Nick writes back with a huge story here, and I'll read it. It'll say, Haru, I'm not attempting to mislead investors. I'm simply trying to answer questions in the face of coordinated attacks on this campaign as documented on other platforms such as the Reddit and Discord. Even so, I will try to answer your questions and respond to your accusations. So I don't know where this coordinated attack is coming from because there isn't one. I visit the Reddit. I did not see any type of coordinated attack. I go on Discord. I've seen no attacks or like, hey, we're going to shoot missiles at this time or something like that. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. On the subreddit today, Gatoru's had a nice little breakdown of all the questions and who the questions were asked by and what day they're asked, and it clearly showed that most of the questions were asked by legit investors at the beginning of the campaign. So I don't know where he's getting this. He's just making excuses, and then the questions that were asked for in this thread here are completely valid. Like, why did you pay yourself? Like, these are not smear questions or like skewing of numbers or anything. These are pretty black and white questions and answers of why you pay yourself when in asking for why are you asking for more money when you've already paid yourself extra that you didn't need to pay. I don't know. I'm going to read all of this even though it's long just because I feel that it's probably going to have it probably needs to be read because it's probably going to be ridiculous. So first thing he says, number 1, I was answering Christian's question that referenced specific numbers from 2020 balance sheet. What has been a common occurrence by people who wish to do harm to the company in the public eye is first speculate on intent or possible outcome and then restate it as fact, similar to what you have done here. Just because I provided additional detail about the 2020 balance sheet does not mean that my intent was to mislead investors because as part of that answer I did not go through the 2021 balance sheet. We are currently working to finalize our 2021 financials and will go through the audit process in preparation for our annual filing requirement. The reason we listed all debt as of the end of last year in the disclosure is so investors have a picture of the current debt. You even make a reference to this yourself, so your accusation that I personally am intentionally misleading investors on this subject is both disingenuous and inflammatory. I don't really fully agree with that because he might not be able to provide the exact details of 2021 yet. He should be able to, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he can't. He did make it seem like the debt was only. He made it seem like there were no extra debt was accrued in 2021 when clearly when you look at the other files there, a whole lot more was. So I disagree with Nick here. I thought it was misleading. 2. In the case of the 2 loans mentioned, these board members agreed to take warrants in lieu of interest, which is the board agreed as to not accrue more interest. This was mentioned in the disclosure you make reference to, but I suspect you left out your accusation because it's more damning that way. I don't know why he doesn't answer say. Well, I don't know why he just doesn't say, oh, I guess I shouldn't charge any interest because I want this company to succeed and there's no valid reason for me to charge such crazy interest. We'll see if he answers that in the future question. 3. Again, speculate or intent or a possible outcome and restate as a fact. Just because I did not, like, what the hell? Like, again, speculate on intent or a possible talk normal, Nick. Like, this is ridiculous. Just because I did not talk about interest rates for specific loans in an answer to a single question does not mean I was skirting around. You're skirting around the question right now, around the issue or trying to mislead investors. These facts are in the disclosures. That is the purpose of disclosures. These loans were initially planned as short-term loans, and the interest was agreed to as such. Some providing the loans had to sell stocks and incur other expenses to provide the loans. The board agreed that the rate should not continue lowered the rate of the 10% per annum. In addition, the board agrees that no interest payments should be made until the principal amount is paid off. And at that point, the board will determine what is appropriate and disclose your outcome. Your statement that 10% is far higher than the commercial loans that are unsecured and issued to a pre-revenue startup show how little you know of the area of finance. I suspect you didn't bother to do any research on loans, but you did state... I'm shaking my head. You can't see it, but this is ridiculous. You did state your opinion quite confidently here to ensure that it created more damning evidence of your accusations. You can compare the convertible notes to common debt. Convertible notes are structured primarily as an equity investment mechanism that thus typically hold more of the value at discount price of the equity when converted. You, of course, failed to mention that these convertible notes hold a 20% discount on the share price when converted, but I suspect this was left out because it did not support the narrative. This is really funny because he's talking about skirting around and not supporting the narrative. Once again, why instead of charging interest, why do you have a 0% interest loan? Or why don't you not take a salary? Why are you asking for money? You're hurting the company by you yourself, Nick and Tommy, charging interest, even if it's a little bit of interest, but it isn't. It's a lot of interest, and stop trying to skirt around the issue and try to like minimize the fact that you gouged your own company, and then now you're asking for more money. Like, I don't know how you can rationalize that. Oh, we're not going to pay the interest later. How about you just say zero interest? Zero interest. You have faith in this company. You don't. You're asking people for money, yet you're taking money out of the company for your own personal gain. Like, this is terrible. Like, geez, this guy. I thought at first when like he had the Tony interview that this guy's a decent guy, but this guy is greasy. Like, this is bad. And I just love how he answers the question. It's just a bunch of what's a word, like a mumbo jumbo or something. And it's just bullshit. Jesus Christ. I'd have more respect. He says, I charge interest because I want to buy more shit. Like, I want to buy more fucking Porsches or something. Like, okay, well, good for you. At least you're honest. At least I'd be like, okay, I don't like what he did, but at least he's honest. This is just greasy. Okay, so number 4, again, speculate on intent or a possible outcome and restate as fact. Just because I didn't detail is that some principal payments have been made on some loans in answering your question on a specific topic doesn't make my response nonsensical. By that logic, anytime you answer a question, you would, in essence, have to restate all disclosures that was the intent of the disclosures in the first place. I also didn't mention that some principal payments were made, additional funds were provided to the company specifically for myself and the former CEO. The purpose of these loans is to provide coverage for dips in cash flow. By their nature, they are intended to be paid back. Most companies, especially startups, desire as much working capital as they can get because it is always in short supply. Paying back these types of loans isn't part of the type of performance compensation program. They're to provide working capital so the company can continue moving forward with the goal of generating value for the investors. There's no nefarious intent, as you imply, and the company appreciates the board putting their capital at risk to help the company move forward. You guys are so noble. And normally, possibly this is correct, but not in crowdfunding. Not in crowdfunding. If you get like a big time investor who will dump a whole bunch of money in, that's a little bit different. This is not. This is, you're asking people, pennies at a time, or hundreds of dollars at a time. What is it, $500 at a time? Oh, give me your $500, but I'm going to pay myself $100,000 in interest. So I need to get a whole bunch of people to give $500, so I get paid first, and then we can talk about you making your money back. Like, come on, Jesus Christ! Like, fuck. And then just the double talk and everything he's saying there. This is just possibly worse than Tommy. He may have surpassed Tommy in the greasiness here. Like, at least Tommy's just emotional and just talks out his ass. This is the guy who, like, I don't know. This is him answering it this way. If anyone actually legitimately wants to invest in this, and reading how he's responding here, this is like red flags galore here. It's like, holy shit. Okay, let's read on. 5. The manufacturing loan you make reference to was secured to help ramp up the manufacturing moving at the needed pace. We did not have access to the necessary capital at the time. I thought Tommy said they had some like $150 million put aside for manufacturing. I could be getting confused if that was the marketing, but I'm pretty sure he said he had a whole bunch of money put aside for manufacturing. They had 100,000 units on purchase orders and all this, and they had a line of credit. That's what it was. So it wasn't meant. He said they had a massive line of credit, and they had 100 and whatever thousand purchase orders. So is Tommy lying, or like, because he just said that they didn't have capital, because Tommy had said before, we have access to the credit for manufacturing and all the purchase orders. So if that's the case, you get your purchase orders, you have your line of credit, you produce the units, you sell the units, you pay back your line of credit, and pocket the rest. Like, that's how it works. Like, it's pretty simple. So I'm guessing Nick is calling Tommy a liar, and he's probably right, because I'm pretty sure they didn't have that. So he says, Mr. Agrawal helped coordinate this loan through a third-party banking partner. The fees give you an actual idea of the true cost of unsecured loans for startups. That's not true. Built into these fees are both the risk and loss possibility that will not be paid back in time. The $100 per console sold if the loan has not been paid back by that time was requested by the banking partners as an insurance, and the company would not extend the loan beyond the point of meaningful revenue generation. That indicates that the bank has really low faith that this was going to be successful, if this is true what he says, which it probably is. No product like gives $100 of a $250 product for repayment. Like, no, it's unheard of. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's what 30-40% of each sale goes to this loan. Like, that's insane. So what that tells me is they're absolutely completely desperate, and Mr. Agrawal just had them by the balls, and they just said yes to whatever just to get any type of cash. And that's what a poor company does, because then they're always going to be chasing the cash. They'll never get out of the hole. Like, this is like very amateurish investing. You're like, or not investing, but amateurish. Can't think of the word. What it is, like fundraising or capital, getting capital invested into it. Like, this is super bad. Anyways, he says, yes, we paid them $67,000 in fees for this loan. Mr. Agrawal has been very helpful in negotiating. Of course he is, because he's getting all this ridiculous royalty. Negotiating extension of the payment terms with no additional fees or interest. Well, of course he is, because he probably also knows that he's never going to get, they're never going to make any units. Not getting this loan at such critical time could have brought our progress to a screeching halt. Because of the, well, how would it be? They're already, their progress at a screeching halt. Like, we'll see those in the later comments here, but they don't have finished hardware, they don't have finished software, they have zero manufacturing. Like, they already are at screeching halt even after this loan. So it says, because of this, we have been able to push forward, and as a result, we hope to make some positive announcements later in the month. 6. Speculate on intent or possible outcome and restate as fact. So you like saying that word, or that phrase. You state that Tommy losing his money in a liquidation scenario is simply not true. Your implied fact that he would not lose his money or he would receive funds over investors in some sort of liquidation, this, of course, is also simply not true. Even though this statement is entirely structured to wrap up the previous 5 statements that were intended to create the belief that the management team is somehow swindling investors, I don't know about swindling, but the fact that you've repaid his interest on his loan with the previous investors' monies that's kind of swindling, I would say. I don't know. Kind of dirty or greasy, as they said. I think you do bring up a good point about prioritization of debt that my previous statement did not dig into. If the company falls into some sort of liquidation activity such as bankruptcy, the bankruptcy court would determine the appropriate distribution of assets. Typically, secured debt is prioritized first by subordinated debt, which also includes employee back pay. Employee back pay typically ranks high in the priority of the court it determines. If there is any assets to distribute, in this scenario, Tommy could potentially receive some portion of the distributed assets if the court prioritizes it as such. You are correct to point this out. Equity holders typically fall lower than debt in the hierarchy of priority. One of the reasons this equity is typically a higher risk, higher return, compared to many types of debt or employees who expect to get paid. That's why people make equity investments for a higher potential return. With that said, using the example of Tommy and suggesting that this is a part of a broader intent to take advantage of investors is again a bit inflammatory. But I guess that is a whole faction of people out there that attack companies and their CEO for making too much money, so this should probably be no surprise. The reality of the situation is if Intellivision fails, Tommy will have spent 4 years of his life trying to bring something new to the market while being mercifully attacked along the way. Will have lost far more money than he has taken in salary or other compensation. It makes you want to step out from behind the keyboard and become an entrepreneur. Huh? I like how Tommy is looked upon as this, like, the victim here. He being mercifully attacked. Notice that Nick hasn't responded to that Imager link which shows Tommy attacking everybody else. Very like how he changes that narrative there. And Tommy going around calling people gaming racists and making fun of people with disabilities and just saying Nintendo is like full of terrible games and lying and people just pointing out facts and pointing out his lies and his poor behavior. That makes him like an innocent victim. I don't know about that. 4 years of his life trying to bring something new to the market while being lost far more money than he has taken in salary. He has taken in a salary. It appears that all he's done so far is go on podcasts. So, hey, even if his salary was, what did it say, 90,000? I'm pretty sure almost anyone here listening to this would love to make 90,000 US dollars a year to go on podcasts or YouTubes with channels with 0 subs and spend 4 hours talking about how great that you are. Like, what the heck? It's like, I like how he tries to make him like a victim. It's quite comical.